Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. I was almost late. I was upstairs talking to my wife, and her clock said 10:57. I get down here, it was like one after. I'm like, whoops, we're late for live. How you guys doing? Welcome to Friday. Friday, what is it? February 9th. I had to check my pewter clock. How's everybody going? We are getting ready to talk about some gains. I want your questions, want all your comments, off topic, nutrition, training, whatever, running, whatever you guys want. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. This is the longest running Q&A in the history of lifting, and that's my claim. I don't know that there's been a live Q&A longer running than this. Maybe there has been. I don't really care, but I'm claiming it, right? Why not? So I hope you guys are doing well. It's been a kick-ass last 12 days for me. And I'm going to get into a topic real quick before we dive in on lengthened partials. I want to talk about it because I saw a very interesting post, and I'll let you guys decide. I'm just presenting information on this. But it's been a very good 12 days for me. If any of you are not involved with the Super Living 30-day challenge and you want a little bit of motivation, it can be bulk, it can be cut, it can be whatever. Join me. I'm on day 12. It's a 30-day challenge, but I'm going to do 100 days. It's basically no alcohol, no fast food, no processed food, only animal and plant-based. We're aiming for 2,500 steps for 30 days. You have to get a minimum of 12 workouts in. Basically, that's the gist of it. So if you are interested in such a shenanigan, you can hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman or email me benthebarman@gmail.com. I am on day 12, and I'll tell you what, I am feeling great. I posted my calories on Instagram today. I'm down about 10 pounds. Inflammation is way down. I'm feeling sexy. Training is going really well, and that's the most exciting thing to me. Since I turned age 50, and I'll be 57 this year. I know, thank you. I don't look it. Thank you. Whatever. But since I turned, my training has been there, but it hasn't been like in the zone I wanted. I've been doing a lot of running. Then the pandemic hit and messed everything up, and excuses. But I'm on a really good track right now. Really excited. Training's going really well. Squats are coming up. Deadlifts are coming up. Starting to post videos occasionally when I have time. Anyway, things are going great. So how are things going with you guys? Just a couple housekeeping notes. If your questions don't go through, try shortening them. YouTube sometimes can limit questions if they're too long, or they might filter something because of a naughty word. Don't use naughty words, right? Or whatever word. YouTube can sometimes filter things. So if your comment doesn't go through, try rewording it. And if you're late to the party, you can always message me with questions on Instagram at Ben the Barman, at Ben the Barman. All right. So a couple of things, a couple of quick updates. Those of you know we're working on a training app that's going exceptionally well. Looks awesome. We're going to be, beta isn't far away. So keep an eye out for that. That's coming soon for those that applied for beta. And what else was I going to say? I'm working on a book behind the scenes. So I'm trying to have that done ASAP. I'm not rushing that, but that's coming this year. And this is going to be a door stopper of a book. So that's about it. If you guys are new here, please post up a question. Don't be shy. If you need help, I'm here to help. And don't forget, you can join TeamMassiveIron.com, TeamMassiveIron.com. It's one part community, one part micro coaching. I'll help you all you need. Form checks, questions, general advice, kick in the pants, whatever. But we have a wonderful community and a growing community that continues to grow every month. What do I got? A thing hanging up here and the thing hanging up here. I have to have the things hanging down or I have a mental tick when I rewatch the video. But one last thing before we get rolling, if you need coaching, I'd love to help. You can hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman, or head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. superlivingtoday.com. That's my website. Why is my website called superlivingtoday.com and not Massive Iron? Good question. When I started coaching, I wasn't sure. I didn't even know that, YouTube would be able to generate such an amazing, business. My coaching business is just ridiculous. It exceeded everything I expected. And I love each and every one of you. And I can't thank you enough for supporting it. And all my clients, past and present, seen amazing results. But anyway, when I first started the website, I thought I was going to have to do a lot of local stuff, fat loss coaching, and wellness coaching. I actually, for the city I used to live in, I did wellness coaching for all the city folks. So I thought my coaching umbrella would have to be broader, but mostly it's just you guys, and that's a wonderful thing. All right. So let's get into a mini topic, and then we'll get into the questions. I saw this on the old Instagram. Can lengthened partials generate more hypertrophy? And this is from Dr. Dr. Desouzao. Dr. Desouzao from the University of Tampa. I'm just going to read this, and then we'll get into the questions. So this guy's smarter than me. Don't tell anybody. Here are my 2 cents about lengthened partials versus full range reps of motion. So when we're talking about full range reps of motion, we call it basically FROM. Okay, full range of motion, FROM. PROM will be partial range of motion. For those of you guys, when I'm reading this, just so we don't get confusiated. All right, so evidence, we're starting at the green check mark. Evidence indicates that training muscles in their lengthened position using FROM, that's full range of motion. Evidence indicates that full range of motion generates more hypertrophy, and a reference. Regarding LP, and we'll get into more of that. Well, he's just not stating an opinion. Regarding LP, or lengthened partials, the soup of the day in the wacky world of online muscle building. We always need something new to talk about, don't we? Because the basics never work. Regarding LP, we have a meta-analysis in image 2, and I'll zoom over. That's kind of a ganky image, but that's some meta-analysis if you want to search the title. We have a meta-analysis image 2 in a recent study, my friend Vitalo.Cassiano, that found a positive effect favoring LP at the only measurement site. A Pedrosa et al. Study, and then PubMed number, also suggests that LP induced more hypertrophy in the distal position only. It's essential to mention that shoulder flexion and exercise used, image 3, may have favored these findings, okay? The last 2 studies also involved untrained women, untrained. So we're going to focus on that a little bit. The MA compared FROM, full range of motion, versus partial range of motion, PROM. Although 8 studies, and pay attention because here's where we get funky. Although 8 studies were mentioned for hypertrophy, only 7 were identified. Image 4. Okay, there's all the studies if you want to geek out. Of the 7 articles, only 1 focused on upper limbs, and just 2 involved trained individuals. Notably, despite the few studies included, they were of low quality, with an average quality score of 5 out of 12. So these were not spectacular studies, and they were on untrained individuals. Results showed, and this is from the meta-analysis, this is not opinion. Results show no difference between FROM versus PROM for hypertrophy. No difference, none, 0. Meta-analysis of these crappy studies. You guys can determine your own opinion, but I want you to be equipped before you jump into the swimming pool and start doing partial range of motion. Just stick to convention, guys. Regarding the notion that lengthened partials LP generate more hypertrophy than from, the meta-analysis results do not support such a claim. The observed effect was trivial, and the null effect fell within the confidence interval. Additionally, the confidence interval is considerably wide, suggesting greater variability and lower precision in the estimate. Image 5. Overall, this limits our certainty in extrapolating or using that outcome for practical applications. Basically, there's no practical reason to, there's no information that says they're superior, no information at all that says they actually have any added value. At this point, the hype surrounding lengthened partials seems to be more a product of social media, no kidding, than data indicating that this method yields more hypertrophy, blah, 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 blah. So there you have it, the spiel on lengthened partials. If you want to drop a comment down below, go right ahead. Let's get into questions because that's what we're here for. Wow, my face is already drying up 12 days. So we'll see what happens after. All right, let's get into questions. Just a reminder, if you post a question before live starts, you get a chance to win a free shirt, hoodie, whey creatine, or Team Massive membership, whatever you want. Rico, how's it going? Rico, good afternoon. Hope all is well. Wonderful. And thanks. On a roll, doing good. Thoughts on warming up with seated lying leg curls before squats and deadlifts? I don't like it. I mean, I'm not telling you guys not to do it, but look, I get so many warm-up sets on squats and deadlifts. I'm warm. Right. Like moving stuff around and moving plates around and doing all the things and loading stuff, you know. Is there a downside? No. Do I particularly think there's much value in it? I don't. Why do I say that? Because the heart of Massive Iron is analyzing the totality of lifting. How many guys are doing squats and deadlifts, and how many of these intermediate and advanced lifters are doing all the fancy schmancy stuff, right? Not many. So therefore, it tells us it's non-essential. Does that mean we can't do it if we find value? You can absolutely do it if you find value. Just don't feel pressured into doing this stuff because you read it somewhere on one guy. Because a lot of times this stuff is just, hey, I need something to post on social media. Let me talk about the value of doing seated lying leg curls before squats and deadlifts. BBB, do, da. Right? So don't feel obligated to do so. Try it. If you find value, use it. But just know it's not convention and it is not a requirement. Thomas, saw your documentary about running. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Inspired me to get out and do some trail running myself. Just running what shoes? I like Speedcross 4s, and they're an older shoe. Salomon Speedcross. I would suggest looking at the Speedcross. They're light. They're breathable. They're not waterproof, but when you're trail running and your shoes get wet, they'll come in and they'll go out. And I like that. The water will exit quickly. They're light. They have good grip, and they have a tight toe box, so your foot's not moving around. In trail running, things are constantly changing up and down, side to side, roots, rocks, all kinds of chaos, climbing rocks, going through mud, and the foot's constantly under stress in the ankle. So a tight toe box, the foot isn't sliding around in the shoe. It's nailed in place. I like the Speedcross. Speedcross 4 is old. Look for the modern variations of Speedcross 5, 6. That's a good place to start, I think. Rigo, massive pre-workout, maybe. Massive carnage. Unfortunately, I'll never do a pre-workout. The problem with pre-workouts is, and I know this from having been in the industry, that to have a profit, to make the product worthwhile to sell, you have to keep the cost, and this was back when I was in the industry, to about $10 to $12 per tub, and then they sell it for like $30. So that's basically how it worked, behind the scenes stuff. I've had people When I was in the industry, people would put together just amazing pre-workouts based on the latest science, the latest research, and they would be told, too expensive. We got to cut ingredients. So that's one of the major issues, and you guys need to know this as far as pre-workouts, that cost is a big factor, and cost can limit really how good the product could be. And this is pretty much a broad issue across the supplement industry. I'm no supplement expert, but if you do the research, that's what you're going to find. I'll never do a pre-workout. There's just too many. There's too much competition, too many out there. And I can't right now stay up on the latest ingredient research. That's out of my scope. I just don't have time. It's easy to put out a multivitamin because a multivitamin is a multivitamin, and creatine's creatine, and whey is whey, and there's not a lot of cutting edge behind it. But I hope that makes sense. Big Jonathan, morning, Steve. Great to see you crushing 100 days. Thank you. When the 30 days are over, how would you suggest introducing fun foods? It depends on your goal. I think we want to keep the essence of the 30-day focus moving forward. And not to say you can't drink. What I tell people is, if you're looking to maintain weight, live like a monk during the week, Monday through Friday. Keep it tight, keep it strict. Focus on whole foods, real foods, no alcohol. And then on the weekends, if you want to have a little bit of fun, have a little bit of fun. So live like a monk during the week and live with some funk during the weekends. Does that make sense? That's if you want to maintain. If you want to continue to cut, you want to adhere to this as much as possible, because this really is the magic path for cutting. Introducing things. Look, we want to avoid bringing large containers, large bags of Doritos in the house. If you want some, have a small bag. If you want one cookie, have a cookie. Don't eat 5. It's really about rules of engagement. Like, if I'm going to eat a cookie, I'm going to eat one, not the whole pack, etc. Yvonne, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. And Stein, good to see you, buddy. Ronan, good morning, Steve. Do incline presses really build the upper chest? I keep hearing people. Here's what I want to say, okay? Let me get a drink. I want you guys to hear me on this because this is one of the core pillars of the massive iron philosophy. Whether they do or don't, every exercise is going to hit the body slightly different. That's a given. No matter what anybody says, the demands of every exercise hit the body differently, right? So hold on. I gotta turn off the heater. The body, every exercise is going to hit the body differently. Leg press hits the legs different than squats, etc. That's why it's a good idea to have a combination of exercises to hit a specific area, because we're getting 3 or 4 weapons hitting a different area, and they're all hitting them differently. Now, when you go from bench to incline to seated overhead, okay, there's a spectrum, right? So to what degree does an incline hit upper chest? To what degree does a bench press hit upper chest? To what degree does an overhead press hit upper chest? We don't know for certain scientifically. There is some information out there, but what we do know is that we can be smarter than science. How are we smarter than science? We're going to use a variety of pressing planes to ensure we're getting the most out of our training. So you can use a flat dumbbell and barbell bench. You can also include some variations, the incline dumbbell or barbell press, and then the overhead barbell dumbbell press. By including all of these variations in your training, you're covering all your bases and you don't need to worry. So we want to remove, in the massive iron world, we want to remove we want to remove doubt and replace it with certainty, okay? What are we certain of? We're certain that if we use reasonable exercise variations in the planes, moving from the bench to the overhead, that we're targeting everything. If you do that, That's all you can do. You can't do any more, right? That's all you can do. Set aside the doubts, set aside the speculation. Be certain that you are doing all you can do, and you will be fine. You will be absolutely fine. Mr. Buchwald. We'll call you Big Buchwald. Hello, Team Massive. Incoming question load. Let her rip, man. More questions are better. I missed the pre-life the last couple of weeks, so a few questions. Pre-live, I think he meant. Where do you think YouTube fitness is headed the next 5 years? Well, good question. I mean, we're in this rapid, like YouTube fitness. I think we've gone through a stage where we have so many science-based folks and so many pseudo-science people that talk about science that really aren't extremely scientific, like Menno Henselmans, who misrepresents what studies talk about, and et cetera, in my opinion, in the opinion of many others. I don't know. I think a lot of the question with YouTube fitness is, we're constantly getting smarter and evolving. I've been around the internet from the early ages regarding fitness. I was on bodybuilding.com pretty early on. I was around all the forum eras, and we've got to see we've become smarter as a group, right? We're evolving as a group. And I think we're going to continue to weed out all the things like 82 different exercises, that'll become laughable. Magic secrets and magic tips. The people in the know will understand that that's inherently nonsense. I think the world is going to move more and more towards the direction of massive iron, which is looking at commonalities in training. We're going to become smarter in that way. I think you're going to see some pendulum swing back away from frequency stuff because the information or research just isn't there. That doesn't mean it's not, valuable by any means. 90% of my clients are on frequency-based training. Use whatever you want. The massive iron way is it doesn't matter what you use, just train hard. But I think we're going to have a little bit of pendulum swing back that way. What we are going to be looking at in the next 5 years from an AI perspective is highly interesting and curious. I ask myself this as well. A lot of influencers and content producers are going to rely on AI for scripting and information. And you're going to get a lot of bullshit out there in that direction. That's what I think. You're going to get a lot of people that look good with jiggly pecs and perfect butt implants and all that kind of crap, spieling AI stuff. You're gonna get more. AI is going to get smarter, and on video we'll be able to filter out our imperfections and all kinds of crap. Who knows? Things get smarter and crazier, but in that chaos, you're always going to have people that are going to gravitate to that chaos, right? The sheep. And I don't say that in a demeaning way, but you're going to have people that are going to follow all this horse shit on YouTube fitness, and you're never going to be able to get away from that. Some people just wake up every day and they choose violence, right? They choose to just follow the sexy account with boobers, right? Oh, she has boobers, I'll follow her and her banded glute workout. Like some people, that's what they do, and I'm not ripping on them, but we're going to have more and more people will gravitate more and more to real, and personalities will still matter, and personal, individuals with opinions and nuance will matter more in the AI era. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? This is my life, for better or for worse. And what I would like to leave behind is some sort of a website with all my information. It sounds silly to talk about leaving it behind, but I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to creating workouts and systems and structures and videos, and to be able to compile all the good and keep it on one website and one source long past my passing would be my goal. I'm not trying to overinflate my information, but I do want it to continue. I do. This is important to me. Views are not important to me. Obviously, everybody wants views, and I'd love to have 100,000 people following my information, but will I ever? No. If I got perfectly ripped after this 100-day challenge and came out and started doing my shirt off, videos and all that kind of stuff, would my following grow? Absolutely. That's the nature of the business, but I'm not after views for views sake. I'm trying to put out the best information I can so people who want that information can connect with that information. And I think I have a lot to offer because I have always been focused on trying to see the big picture in all things rather than swaying to the black and white side of things. So I want folks to look back and have access to my workouts, have access to my information in some sort of a resource. That would be my goal. And if people don't want it, they don't want it. But if they do, I just want it to have available. What fictional character superpower would you choose and why? I don't know that I would choose a fictional character specifically. I certainly wouldn't want to be a high flyer like Spider-Man or Superman because I have no interest in going well above the skies for any reason. And certain of these superheroes, the powers, they just get you in trouble, right? The government will consider you an enemy of the state, a weapon of mass destruction. That would be the reality in the modern world. What superpower would I choose to be? It sure wouldn't be reading other people's minds. I'm overwhelmed already with information. I don't know. Rapid healing, maybe invisibility. Invisibility would be nice, just to be able to do stuff and not have to have people see you. But invisibility, like if you think about it, invisibility might be arguably the ultimate morality test, between the ultimate struggle between good and evil. If you are invisible, there's so many things you could do that could get you into trouble. And I don't mean trouble with the law. I mean so much temptation. You could invisible your way in stealing stuff or in unusual situation. You could walk into any situation, insert yourself, and there'd just be a lot of awful temptation. So I don't know. With great power comes great responsibility, right? As a kid, who are your idols and how did they shape you to the man you are today? I'm going to talk about a few things, and they might seem odd, but I didn't have a father around. My father was a very violent alcoholic. And Jonathan just said, any news on the massive Forge app? I checked back at the start of the video. I talked about it a little bit. I had a very violent father. He's no longer with us. And we had a good relationship, a passable relationship at the end of his life. But he was very violent, and he wreaked a lot of havoc in my life. When I was 8, he came over with a shotgun and tried to kill us all. He gave me the shotgun then and asked me to kill him. He was drunk out of his mind. There's a lot of traumatic events like that in my youth. I know it's kind of cliche to talk about, poverty life and struggles, and I don't play the victim, but I went through some pretty weird stuff when I was young. My best friend, Kevin, and I actually have the news clippings on my Facebook. When I was 15, he was taken out to Lakeside Park in Fond du Lac and executed by his alcoholic stepfather. I just had a lot of weird things happen like this in my life. and I didn't have role models. I was a latchkey kid. My mom didn't teach me anything. She was always working, not being critical. But I just was trying to figure out life myself. So some of my role models might seem weird to you guys. One of the biggest role models I had were baseball announcers. I love baseball. And you look at guys like Bob Uecker or Harry Carey, they were so full of life and personality um, that I gravitated towards that. I liked it was exciting to me, people that were positive and full of energy and could make people laugh and entertain. And um, baseball announcers like that I tuned into every day probably had a big impact on me. And superheroes, having role models in the form of things I read was very impactful. I wanted to be a superhero. I believed in the good things. I still believe in the good things, patience and kindness and servitude. I hold myself to a high standard. Uh, when it comes to lying or deceiving or patience or anything, I hold myself to a high standard. That doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I always valued the stories in the superhero comic books because they were smart people trying to do the best they could, flawed people and smart people trying to do the best they could. And they taught me a lot of things about life. So that had a huge impact. And the next big impact was really the early bodybuilding magazines and books in the late 80s, because I learned something valuable from 1986 to 1990, my first 4 years of training. That is, I could completely remodel and rework myself with hard work and with discipline. So they taught me, even though a lot of the information was sketch, right? They taught me the value of discipline, that if I keep my meals focused and I keep my sleep focused and I keep my training focused, that I could become much better and more confident and mentally strong than I was. So those were the things that impacted me the most. And I'm grateful for each one of them. 1 year from now, what will you have achieved? Hopefully to be alive. That sounds crazy, but once you hit near 57, every year, every day is valued. What I want more than anything is to have my book done, to have my app out, um, to be in the best shape of my life. Not just to show old dudes I can be in good shape. I don't give a crap about that. I give a crap about old dudes, but my mission isn't to show old dudes that old dudes can be in shape. I don't feel old. I still feel like I'm training like I'm 25. I don't feel any different in the gym. I just, I'm benching and I'm recovering normal. My joints are normal. And yeah, you got a few, aches and pains and strains, but everybody does over the years. I don't want to be good for 57. I want to be good for 27. And I'm going to be. I mean, I got some loose skin. I posted about that on Instagram. Everybody's going to have war wounds. That comes with age, right? Mental and physical scars and things like that. But I don't want to be good for 57. I want to be good for 27. And happy Friday to you, Paul. Good morning, Big Paul, the Benchmeister from New Mexico. Just being silly. Good morning, Big Hairy Ugly Dude and everyone. No questions today so far. Thanks for tuning in. Big Paul. How to switch from a bulk to a cut mindset. Even going to maintain for a couple weeks. Yeah, I know. I mean, you can do a transition, but either way, you're going to have the first 5 days, which are a big change, right? So I think the more you do mini cuts, the more you get used to it. You learn how to structure better. You learn which foods to eat. You become better equipped for success. That's why transitioning for me is so easy, because I know what I need to do, and I know what works, and I know what's sustainable, etc. So we have to start understanding with each experience what works for me, what foods work for me, what do I need? I need food volume. I like to eat frequently, so therefore food volume helps. I have to rely on certain foods like Greek yogurt. So I don't know. I am an all-in guy. Just get it in, get it over with. Push yourself, stretch yourself. That's the way I work. If you want to ease into it, fine. Just know all you're doing is extending the pain, right? What is a primary muscle to get the sticking point on bench? Now, where you notice a sticking point, okay, let's say it's 4 to 8. This is the range, okay? Let's say this is your chest right here, the top of this little black bar. And the sticking point you think is 4 to 8 inches off your chest. What you need to understand is where you notice it's slowing down, you're actually decelerating a few inches before. So where you're noticing it slowing down, you're actually starting off of your chest, where that's where it's starting to slow, and then it slows to a crawl at 4 to 8 inches. That can be front delts. That can be chest. So make sure you have a more chest-focused press in the mix. I used to do things like guillotine press, things like that. Something more chest-focused to bring up chest strength, like a plate-loaded machine press, where you can focus a little bit more on the chest. I like dumbbells because I can focus a little bit more on the chest. So just hit your chest hard. That's my best advice. Sometimes we don't really have sticking points. The only rep you're noticing that on generally is the last rep. Okay. And today you might stick between 4 to 8 on the last rep, and next time 5 to 9, and next time 6 to 10. You're still progressing. Does that make sense? So don't judge the last rep. Tim, how's it going, Tim? Hope things are well. Big Joe B, client of mine. Big Jonathan, big hairy ugly dude. How do you calculate a bulk ceiling? Right now I'm at 6'4". You calculate it by looking at what the scale does relative to your calorie history. So if you find that 3,000 calories allow you to bulk at like 2.5 pounds a month, then 3,200 would probably be a good ceiling, a couple hundred over where you are in your sweet spot. Why would we set a bulk ceiling? Because one of the main issues on a bulk is that people have too many loose days, just like a cut. Hey, I'm on a bulk. It's an excuse to eat way overboard, and then their bulk is expedited, sped up, and then they have to crash run right into a cut, an early cut. So having a bulk ceiling allows us to keep the bulk within reason. So generally 200 to 250 over where you maintain. Big bad Drew McClure, what's going on? Big hairy ugly dude, do you have any specific details on how you warm up before a workout? I go into the gym and I do warm-up sets. Period, end of story. Has it evolved? No. I'm not telling you can't do funky stuff like rotator cuff prehab and 5 minutes of walking to get your body temperature up. You can do that stuff if you feel it's necessary. I would do warm-up sets. That's all I've ever needed. And I don't want to wait. I'm just me personally. I don't want to waste my time doing foamy rolling and shoulder things. And so I want to get on to getting on, man. I don't want to step on the damn treadmill. While I'm in the gym, I want to lift weights. Just know you can do that. When I get back to lifting, I want you to keep my 4-day upper posterior, but I want to keep my 4-day upper posterior, but add a 5th day for arms. This is something I do very often. It's called a junk day. What I do is I usually peg that on Saturday. So you'll go through your normal programming. on Monday through Friday. I still keep in a couple arms, a couple triceps, a couple biceps exercises during the week, but I add 2 more additional biceps and triceps exercises on junk day, and then anything else you want. Abs, calves, rear delts, tibia, teacup laterals, whatever you want. Does that make sense? So it would be upper posterior rest, upper posterior arms. Yep, that's exactly it. What personality traits do you value most in people? What I dislike in people is people that are disruptive with no awareness of the impact on other people. Like when I lived in a downtown area, this was very noticeable, right? People just blast their car stereos next to your business while you're trying to do a phone call. People that are, in line at whatever at a store and they're just swearing and there's kids all around. Now, I'm no monk and I'm no angel, but I dislike people that do not take into consideration those around them and they just act like babies, right? They just feel like they can do whatever they want and screw you. This is 2024. So I dislike that. I dislike people that don't take into consideration the better good when they're out in public with their actions. They are point blank assholes, plain and simple. And if you're one of these that are driving around town, driving around the neighborhood with your stereo bumped up, you're a dick. And you can shove that stereo up your ass. I don't care if you like that or not. If you're one of these twat cakes that are smoking pot in public and stinking up everybody's nose, you can go fuck yourself. I don't care if you like it or not. Excuse my language. I'm just being honest. I have nothing against pot. I don't care what you do. But when you're being disruptive to somebody else's senses, their nose, their ears, or whatever, or you're just being vile or vulgar, you're a dick. That's plain and simple. You don't have the right to be a dick, right? Well, you can be a dick if you want, but don't be upset if karma punches you in the face, right? What traits do you value the most? People that do things they don't have to do. In this era, everybody's like, not everybody, but a lot of people like, I'm just going to do what feels good, which is usually about me, and no sense of community. People that do things that are just good things. They're patient, they're kind, they expect nothing. They serve, they expect nothing. This is the essence and health of a quality community, of a quality world to live in. You want to live in a better world? Then do things you don't have to do and ask nothing. Be kind, be patient, be giving, be a servant, right? Find your skills and your passions and work them, and money will come. But when you do the things you love, you can use these tools to help enrich the lives of others. I don't want to get overly swooshy, but my goal is to help you guys, those that want my help, those that find value in my systems. A lot of people don't. A lot of people will be turned off by me because I don't look like Jeff Nippard, right? I don't look like Athlean X. I don't have polished videos and perfect lighting, and I have nose hairs, right? And I have a fang tooth, right? Right? I'm not perfect. I don't need to be perfect, but I'm trying to connect with those that want my information. And I envy the people that find passion in life and just live their passions. I like people that climb mountains. One of the ways you're on track is when people ask me, why'd you take up trail running, man? Aren't you afraid of losing gains? No, I'm afraid of not fucking living is what I'm afraid of. Like, I'm going to get up today and I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I'm going to climb the mountain. I'm going to eat the food. I'm going to go on the adventure. I'm going to go wherever I want. Am I afraid of losing gains? No, the body's not that fragile, and we're not little bitches, right? You know, go adventure, go live, go experience. I like people that do that. You know, if your idea of an experience is sitting on the couch exploring the latest Netflix series, yeah, that's a form of adventure. Live your life. You be you. I don't care. I don't judge. I don't like people that run around trying to catch people, right? Gossipers, the whole, you know, culture that's involved in trying to catch people. You said one word back in 1979. Yeah, I was fucking drunk and I was stupid and I was a kid back then and I was naive. And you know, a lot of times people in the modern world are trying to catch people and they miss context or intent. I don't know. I don't care about that in the modern world. Big JJ, just thought of a question. Do you yourself do anything specific? No. Was that you that just asked this previously? No. Drew asked kind of a similar thing. I don't give any crap about any of that stuff, man. I just do warm-up sets and get after it. I show up and we get after it. That's all I do. Big MacBean, sorry. Stopped in for a thumbs up. Thank you, sir. Going to the Arnold for the first time in March. Also doing a meet to break my bench record. Good luck, man. I'm hoping to be at the Arnold this next year, not this year. A lot going on. I got too much going on with my coaching app or my training app and trying to get my book done. I just don't have time to squeeze it in. Rest, nutrition, and exercise leads to a much happier life. That is the gospel right there. Big CJ, how would you warm up for squats and deadlifts? I do warm-up sets. Bench after, I have a warm-up book or a warm-up PDF. It's available for free. I have a video on it on this channel. It's available for free. I'm not trying to sell you crap. But if you want it as a PDF reference, go to my website, Super Living Today, search warm-up, you'll find it. You can also find it here. I have a complete chart on how to do warm-up sets approximately for any weight. So that's how I warm up. I do warm-up sets. And I listen to loud metal music. Right, that's it. Bench after overhead. It depends on the context of your program. I have a mental tick about doing a bench after overhead. I would rather see you do bench and then dumbbell overhead, and then the next upper day do military press and then dumbbell bench. I like some focus on the barbell lifts first. Big Bill Baker, thanks for tuning in. And join Team Massive, teammassiveiron.com. You slack asses, get over there. If you are lean, very few people are single digit for the record. But in a period where you're not training, is there any... let's be case specific. You lost 30 pounds recently, going from 8% to 8%. You are underweight from the context. You lost organ weight, you lost bone density. You need to be in a slight surplus to get back. And that's not a judgment. You need to. It's just healthier. You need to get back to a normal weight. It's not about leanness. It's about health. It's not about leanness. It's about health. It's not about leanness. It's about health. It's about health. It's about health. And I'm saying this and I'm repeating it because I care about you. And I want you to worry about body fat percentage. Health, 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 health. You lost 30 pounds-ish at 8% to 8%. You lost bone density. You lost organ size. You lost a lot of good things. And this is negatively impacting your health. So I would be in a small surplus. What are some exercise and or cues that might help me keep my knees open during the squat? I'm going to be crude here, but here it is. Open your fucking knees. Open your fucking knees, right? Open your fucking knees. You're afraid, you need to get over it. Open your fucking knees. You can do a goblet squat and you open your knees naturally. You can do a front squat and you open your knees naturally. You can do a safety bar squat and you open your knees naturally. You need to look in the mirror and say, open your fucking knees. Stop being a bitch and open your fucking knees. It's a mental thing that you developed. And I say you, but so many people do this where their knees cave in when they're going down because the weight's on them. Open your knees. Get under a light weight and work on it until you can do it. Okay? There's no magic cues. You have to force your knees open to match your foot angle. If you can't do it, practice, practice, practice. This is a common issue. You are a man, and I'm not saying this with judgment. I'm saying this because I care. You need to get the heavy weight off your back, and you need to go back to a more moderate weight until you can open your knees. Put 135 on your back, put 185 on your back, go down and force those knees open. You're not going to die. I assure you, and I'm not just speaking to you, Chris, but I'm speaking to everyone with this issue. You're not going to die. Open your fucking knees. You're pushing in. It's hesitation. It's tentativeness, right? You're breaking yourself. You relax when you do a goblet squat, knees to elbows. You relax, but you have developed a bad habit and you need to untrain yourself. We can do all these, rotating the legs out type of cues. The cue is to open your fucking knees. That's the cue. Open your fucking knees. Put a lighter weight on. Stop being a bitch. Stop overthinking it. Stop looking for 8 cues. The cue is to open your fucking knees. Okay? That's it. I'm not trying to be hard, man, but that's the cue. Open your fucking knees. Stop being a bitch, put a lighter weight on, and fucking open your knees. I'm going to tell you, if you're here, right now, standing in front of me, and I tell you to open your fucking knees, you're going to open your fucking knees. You will. Not because I'm being a bully, but because I've coached people in person, and I've said, Bob, open your fucking knees.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network. You can find setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
I triggered her, so sorry. But I'm going to calm down here. I got a little bit fired up. And sorry for all the F-bombs. When I train people in person, I tell them to open their knees, they open their knees, right? We have to lighten the load and we need to open our knees. We have to say, I've developed a bad habit. I'm keeping I'm like, it takes physical exertion to push your knees in when you're squatting. Okay. It's a lack of discipline. You're actually physically pushing your knees together. If you sit here in a chair, you're taking your glutes out of the lift. If you sit here in a chair and you just push your knees open, you can feel those glutes activate. The cue is to open your knees. The cue is to open your knees. You have to retrain because you have trained from the start yourself mentally. When you sink, you cave. When you sink, you cave. Watch somebody's heels on a squat when they get to the hole, get near the hole, and their knees are inside. The knee angle is inside of their foot angle. The foot angle is here, but their knee angle is here. When you squat, you'll see your heels lift and roll in because your knees are caving in. That's not 9 times out of 10 or 95% of the time, that's not a weakness. It's a bad habit that developed, and it's tentativeness and it's hesitation. And we're squatting with 275 half-assed. And we don't want to burst that ego and lighten the load and retrain ourselves. The magic cue is open your fucking knees. Okay. We got that out of the way. And Chris, I'm not bashing on you, brother. I hope you guys understand this, but you have to practice. This is like a martial art. It's like a deadlift where your hips have to be in the right position. You have to practice. There's no cue to get your hips in the right position on a deadlift other than to practice and film and watch. Does that make sense? So we have to practice. We have to lighten the load. Guys, You know this is the case. You know when you front squat, knees open magically, right? Magic. When you do a goblet squat and you try to bring your elbows to knees, your knees magically open. Why? Because it's not a squat, the weight's not on your back, and all of a sudden you're not tentative. Okay? You have to understand there's a connection there mentally that you can, yes, the weight's more forward on a goblet squat and the weight's more forward on a front squat, but the mechanisms are the same. You need to relax a little bit. Okay? So you can spread all the floor you want. I can spread the floor and still collapse my knees. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Any negatives squatting in front of a mirror? There can be. Some people will find this difficult. I find it to be a distraction. I find it unbalancing. Some people have squatted in front of a mirror forever, and they are naturals at it. I can see what my knees are doing in my depth, but what if someday I don't know. It's just practice. It's like a martial art. You have to practice, and then you know where your knees are going, right? So if someday you can't, you just like, you know when your knees are moving in. It's just something you have to pay attention to, film, and just continue to work on it. Is brachialis work that important? If you got time for a couple two tree sets a week. I mean, this is this question goes much more broad, okay? And I want you to understand. All the little minor muscle groups, and I say minor, I'm not meaning they're not worthy of being trained. But all the minor muscle groups, forearms and neck and brachialis and tibias and this and that and hippies and glutees and fruity tooties and all the millions of things you could train, right? Do you have time? That's the question. We don't want to pull away from convention, like from the meat and potatoes of our training, to do a lot of extra brachialis work, right? So get the core in on your training. And when you're looking at neck work, forearm work, extra rear delt work, extra calf work, extra ab work, extra trap work, extra this, that, and the other thing. Here's the thing. Get your core in, your core work in, okay? Get your weekly work in for quads, back, lats, delts, chest, arms, hammy whammies. Get your core work in. And then from there, if you have extra time, add in a little bit extra work on this stuff. Does that make sense? Big Sam, is there any point bulking if you are early? Yeah, there's always a point. Bulking is the way, right? If you're earlier advanced and you're like 90% of your way to where you're going to be, do you want to get to 100? That's the question. It's not. I'm not asking. I'm not being cynical, sarcastic. Do you want to get to 100? If not, 90% is pretty damn cool, right? Do you want to get to 90? Do you want to get to 100? If so, you got to use the same mechanism. If you get to the early advanced stage and you are proficient with bulking and cutting, then doing bulks and cuts over the course of a year aren't going to be that big of a deal. Most people get a little bit away from their lean stage anyway over the course of the year, so you might as well bulk. Big Bad Blaine. Could I get the same size legs eventually, repping out with, say, yeah, 100%. I 100% believe this. If I had to go back in time, one of the ways I would change my training is that I would probably never squat, or rarely squat, over 315, but I would do volume. I feel personally that volume on squats, and when I say volume, I mean like 315 for 3, 4, 5 sets of 10 a week, is probably all I'd ever need, right? My legs were big before I ever got past a 405-pound squat. I really only started to squat heavier than that when I stumbled upon powerlifting around 2006, 2007. And then I did it for pure strength, but my legs are pretty much the same size. So I think once you reach that stage, I don't know about 275, I would keep pushing to 315. Low back will come around. It's a time thing, right? We just need to baby it. But with that said, you can just do sets of 8, sets of 10, and advance when you need to advance. There's no rush. Big David, do you find lumbar traction of any sort helpful to offset stress? I've done a little bit of it over time. I mean, it's kind of fun when your back feels stretchy or it pops a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think there's any downside to doing so. So do I personally find it helpful? No. I find sometimes that if I do traction too much, like hanging, that it can actually make my lower back feel worse. So that's a person by person thing. Gym Reapers sell grips like VersaGrips. Any idea? No idea. My VersaGrips are 20 years old and I still use them. Well, they're 18, 20-ish. They'll be 20 soon. We'll throw them a party, right? No, I don't know. I don't know about quality of materials. Let's be honest. So, I mean, my VersaGrips, what are VersaGrips? 60, 65 bucks. If they last you 5 years, that's a good value, right? Overall. So I would just check reviews. That's the only thing I can tell you. Big Chris Jackson. Now that I beat on you about squats, Chris, if you want a billion dollars, what would you buy and spend it on first? I would buy a house with a lot of land meaning enough where I couldn't see my neighbors. And I would pretty much live how I'm living now. The only difference, I'd probably buy, I like a luxury sports car. Or I should say I like a luxury performance car. One I can fit in that has all the features. Because if I'm going to buy a new car, I want some bells and whistles, like like the modern Porsches they have until this year. Their features are so far behind the game. Probably buy that in a big ass truck, and that would be about it. Utility, truck for utility stuff. I think most of the changes in my life would be what I do with my time. I would cut back on coaching. I wouldn't give it up completely. I would want to spend more time writing, and I would probably spend more time. I don't have time to make my content as polished as some of these other guys. Some of these other guys, their content is super polished because that's their job. They get up and they make content and they polish it, and they have the B-roll and the thing and the perfect lighting. I don't have time for that. That's not me being critical of them. I don't have time. I coach for a living. That's what I like to do. So the information I put out is about the information. And, maybe I would spend more time structuring or organizing. I've always been a guy that does this, that gets out there and just answers questions on the go, trial by fire. Sometimes I rant and sometimes I say F a lot, fuck a lot, right? And like when I get on rants like today where I'm, swearing a lot, I always regret it. I think there's a better way to communicate. But I also know that in the heat of battle, I'm doing the best I can to communicate, and that's the way I express myself, for better or for worse. I understand it's off-putting for some people. Sometimes it's off-putting for me. It is, but it is just raw, and I hope people can appreciate that. I'm not trying to overinflate my value. Hey, I'm a super important guy because I don't structure my videos and I just shoot from the hip. That's just who I am, right? That's just who I am. That's just the time I have. But I have found the benefits of doing so is that like you can't, like you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the answer, right? It's like iron sharpens iron, or or whatever the saying is. I can't sit and contemplate and research my response like a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys are out there making content and just researching, studying, trying to position themselves correctly, overanalyzing their position. What's the latest research? Where I'm over here saying it's not needed. You can try it if you want, but it's not needed. Live starts now. That's all the questions before 11. We're an hour and 6 minutes in. Oh, my chest is sore. And it's leg days. My chest is sore. I'm telling you, my chest is sore. I'm going to take a drink, and then we're going to pick a winner, and then we're going to drive on. Diet Mountain Dew. I'm saving fat stacks of cash by not drinking the purple monsters. So let's pick a winner. I think I'm going to give the winner chicken dinner to where? Joachim Buchwald. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the great questions. Message me on Instagram or email me, benthebarman@gmail.com, and I'll hook you up. Let's go. Let's keep rolling, shall we? You guys have any questions? We're an hour in. Keep them rolling. Keep the questions coming. I'll stay on as long as you have questions. So what do we got? 89 Charlo. How much cardio should folks do? Well, we certainly can over cardio. A, you want to do the amount of cardio you enjoy. Caveat. B, if it's too little, you're probably being a bitch, right? You got to take care of yourself. You need a reasonable number of steps per day. Less than 5,000, you get around 3,000 a day. Check your pulse. 3,000 a day. Check your pulse. I have to do that myself. Aim for bare minimum 5. Try to hit 7 on average. And cardio, you probably want to do something that gets your heart rate elevated every week. I do a little bit of running. I do a little bit of hiking. I do a little bit of run hiking, whatever. So how much should you do? I'm not going to give you guidelines. Over an hour a week. You should probably aim for an hour a week of activity beyond just steps. And that can be anything you want. I tell people, focus on activity. I don't care what it is, as long as you're standing on your feet doing something. In this day and age, you're well above the average land whale at Walmart. It sounds really critical, right? He just called people land whales. That's what we're becoming, land whales. I'm sorry, but we are. We're eating ourselves to death. We look like giant sea creatures. It's sad, and I'm not making light of it, but it's just sad. And aim for an hour activity, doing whatever you like, because the way this world is going, I don't even know where we're going to be 50 years from now. Maybe we'll evolve in a giant globuloidous 400-pound floating blobuloids of whatever. But I don't want to be there to see it, to be honest with you. I care about people, and that's a hell of a way to live. Minimalist training is often criticized, but for power endurance sports like rowing, wrestling, how many of those? Well, yeah, I mean, we have to be my folks that are athletes, my folks that are in martial arts. We have to be more minimal, but that doesn't mean just doing only squats, deads, pull-ups, and a kiss on the cheek, right? We still need to be well-rounded. So we can cut out weekly volume, but still be well-rounded. Barbell Beauty, happy Friday. Thanks for joining in. In 2054, Massive Iron World will still be here. No, I'll be long forgotten. Will be replaced by cyborgs. Where do you think my bench press could go to in the next 2 to 3 years? I think shoot big. You have the focus on bulking and cutting. We just need to keep that cycle refined and on track. Screw 135. I want to see you at 160, 170. There's no reason you can't do it. I've been around women that can do it. You have the drive. So I would think big. Oh, Merchada, what's cracking? What's going on? Don't die under that there barbell. I'm afraid of heavy weights. What should I do? I would probably take up Netflix binging. I'll probably take up Netflix binging because lifting isn't for you. Seriously, I don't know if you're trolling, serious. I don't know because you just don't know. This is the internet, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful. But the thing you need to anybody that for real, for serious, anybody that is afraid of heavy weights, you need to go over and look at yourself in the mirror and say a couple things. Number one, heavy weight, progressive overload is required for this journey. Do I want to fight this journey? If so, I have to fight the fear. And number two, look at yourself in the mirror and say, self, I do not fucking care. I'm going to focus on form and I'm going to move the weight for as many reps as I can. If I die, I die. Can you talk about your approach to running? You aim for a certain time goal. No, you don't focus on speed and endurance running. I do speed ups once a week or do when I'm worried about speed. Speed ups are, if you look at endurance training, like 90 or 80-20 running, search the book 80-20 running. One of the cornerstones of endurance training is doing 80% of your training at conversational pace. Sustainable, you can go forever. That's endurance running. You can't run fast because you're going to burn out. You can't do that in endurance running. If you go out and run and try to set a PR every time, that's like ego lifting. That's not training for speed. That's not how you train for speed. That's how you ego run. So endurance running, and you might not have the goal of endurance running, but we still do not go out and try. You can, if you like it, go out and run fast, right? But just know that that's not the magic way to increase your speed. You're going to see some improvement, but running fast, just like doing a 1 rep max on bench every day, that's not the way you increase your bench 1 rep max. You have to do volume, right? So, there has to be some speeding up, hitting zone 3 for sustained periods of time. That's really what brings up your floor. My approach to running is the conventional approach to running for most and other, endurance sports, endurance swimming, endurance cycling. You train 80% of your time at a sustainable pace, conversational pace. So we don't focus on speed. We track things, but I run for time at conversational pace. Don't care about mileage because, look, trail running is not pavement flat ground running, and that's where the disconnect is for a lot of people. People ask me, like, how many miles did you run today? Or they're like, they'll see my hour time at trail running, like, you only ran so many miles. Ho, ho, ho. That's very slow. Yeah, it is. Because I go out and there's elevation, there's trees down in the way. I have to piss like 3 or 4 times during an extended run. So I stop. I look at birds. I look at deer. I look at deer tracks. I will stop and film an amazing thing. There's so many things I see out on the trail. Then you have mud, and I have trees down in the way, and you swallow a bug and all kinds of things. It's just a whole different world. And I have to focus on being safe. I don't just recklessly run fast uphill and on jagged rock areas and rock features and stuff like that. Endurance running is about surviving and getting to the end. It's only about speed if you're trying to be the top 100 in the world. And then you're trying to do 100-mile race in the desert faster than anybody ever did it before. God bless you, but that's not what it is for us. That's their Super Bowl. Does that make sense? Done deal 79. Good morning. Chasing +1s and quality max safe reps. That's the good life. Is there such a thing as bouncing on dumbbell bench? No. I mean, there is reckless, but on the bench, people know the bar's going to hit their chest, so they get kind of loose, right? You don't really have the same thing because if you get loose on a dumbbell bench, it's going to feel pretty awkward, and the dumbbells are going to, kind of go, as my wife would say, walkie, right? When I have to do a set of squats, I feel like I'm going to break my spine because the weight crushes me to the floor. Number one, the weight is not crushing you to the floor. If it was, you'd be dead. And I don't care if it's pleasant. I do not care. It's not pleasant for me either. You got to do what it takes to get to where you want to go. I want to tell you something. There's been tens of thousands of lifters, hundreds of thousands of lifters before you that have not died and not got crushed to the floor. And the only difference between them and you is, you want my honest opinion? They weren't being pussies. And that sounds harsh, but hey, wake up and stop being a bitch. And I mean that with love. I mean that with all the love I can, because I care. Do what it takes to get what you want to get done, or don't squat. Use other leg exercises. I do not care about your feelings. The barbell does not care about your feelings. Results do not care about your feelings. If you want to go from point A to point Z, you got to do what it takes. We are not about punishing ourselves, but you got to keep getting under the bar. The only way to face your feelings or face your fears is to face your fears. There's been 100,000 people before you that have done it. I can't make you do it. I'm not trying to put you down if you don't want to do it. I understand the struggle. Trust me. The squat is a mentally challenging lift. It is mentally challenging, super mentally challenging. I don't like getting under it either. I don't. When I was at my strongest, getting under 600 pounds multiple times a week, I kept my phone next to me because I knew so many bad things could happen. I let my wife know, hey, I'm going to be squatting 600. Listen, be attentive, because we might have to call 9. You never knew if you had to call 911. Now, that's an extreme case, but it never got easier, really. That's the thing with squats. The thing you have to ask yourself is, do I want to do them? If not, do leg presses, hack squats, pendulums, bullets, Bulgarians, lunges, all the things. But if you're going to do squats, you have to put on your superhero cape and tell yourself, I do not care how I feel. I do not care what the weight feels like. I am going to focus on form. When I would be in my zone, when I'm in my zone with squatting, I focus on form, because you know what? The weight is always going to feel heavy, because it is heavy. I made a video on this. It doesn't matter how strong you get. When you put 225 on your back, it still feels heavy because it is heavy. When you put 275 on your back, it feels heavy because it is heavy. It's always going to feel heavy because it's a heavy weight. That doesn't mean you can't lift it. When you put 315 on your back, it's going to feel heavy because it is heavy. That doesn't mean you can't lift it. On and on we go, 365, 405, upwards. You have to gird up your big, juicy testicles or your big, juicy ovaries, whatever you got, whatever the good Lord gave you, right? Whatever you got in your toolbox. And you need to be stronger than your feelings. You need to be stronger than your feelings. You need to focus on form, and you need to be stronger than your feelings. Your feelings, boo-hoo. Who cares? I'm not saying this just to you. I'm saying this I say this to myself every day. I don't care about my feelings. If I want to go from point A to point Z, fuck my feelings. Fuck your feelings. You want feelings? Go watch a Lifetime movie. Go watch Twilight, right? Go put on some candles and some soft music and read love stories. I don't know. Feelings. There's no place for feelings in the gym. I used to have a rule with my ex-wife that I don't want any estrogen in the gym. And that might sound cruel. It might sound harsh to women, but hear me out. Okay. I don't want to think about hand holding. I don't want her to come down and say, I love you when I'm lifting. This sounds cruel. I don't want you to say sweet things. I don't want to hear about grocery shopping. I don't want to hear about all the 800 things I do. I don't want to hear about your fears. I don't want to hear about your feelings. I don't want to hear about nothing when I'm lifting. It sounds cruel, but I am in that zone when I'm lifting. All I care about is me and the barbell and my form. I don't care about feelings. I don't care about emotions. I care about my form. As one gets stronger, do you think it makes more sense to do straight sets on big compounds? I think it becomes wiser number one, we need to analyze every lift on a lift by lift basis, right? Because the demands of every lift are different. So we can't lump sum everything into the same, compartment. But on some big lifts, doing 3 sets max safe reps is going to get tedious. We can cycle, but doing, like when you get to intermediate stage and you built like 75, 70% of your muscle mass, whatever, hammering away relentlessly for the next 5 to 10 years for 20% of your gains can be rather tedious. So there is some room, but it has to be, do I like to train like this? Am I beating myself up? If you're good, you're good, man. There's no urgent need to change things, but if you want to drop to 1 set per exercise, max safe reps, that's absolutely fine. Christiana Dona, do you think women can get too muscular? No. And I'm not sure. Do you think, I was going to say if this is a fake account because of the avatar. I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman. So I don't know. Do you think women can get too muscular legs from barbell squats? The women I've trained that have big legs that come to the game. Like I've trained some women that came to me that have naturally big legs right out of the gate, but not too muscular. Some women are just blessed with thicker legs right out of the gate. Rafael de Souza, happy Valentine's Day. Best wishes. Thank you. Morning, Massive Mammals. Still in the middle of an upper B, saying hi. Get it, get after it, and have a good weekend. Now, I'm about 205 at 12 to 15%. Been training 7 years now. 22, by the way, I have been as heavy as 225. Could I get back to 225? I need to know your height because that's a variable that would help me process this information greatly. 12% at 205 is going to put you as big as me, okay? Because let me do the quick math. 205 times 0.88, you're at about a 180 lean body mass. I'm about at 178 LBM. So there is a chance you're not 12% unless you're taller than 5'10". If you're taller, then this makes more sense. But I don't have you says you're 5'11". So 5'11", your natural potential is about 183 to max 185, maybe if you're big bone, 186. So I'd say you're probably more like 15, 16%. Either that or your body fat percentage is higher than you think. I don't know. I'm just speaking in generalities based on what I have. But 225, I'm thinking you're 16 to 17% without seeing a picture, maybe 18%. Are your arms above 16 and a half inches right now? Can you drop me that real quick? Oh, that's okay if it's a little higher. I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to, process it the best I can. Are your arms 16 and a half inches or higher? If they are, then, 17 and a half inch arms, then you're probably close to max natural potential. So that's good. So that's reasonable. You're in my range mass-wise, likely. 225 is just going to be mostly, Adding 5% body fat is going to add about 10 pounds. I probably would cap about 215, maybe 220 if you feel you still look good. Demetrius Maddox, question, what program do you suggest for a beginner? It depends on like how beginner you are. If you're basically brand new, like still a little shaky type of beginner, then you probably want to stick with more dumbbells and machines. I got to redo Massive 6, to be honest with you, to include a little bit more dumbbell and machine action. But I would probably do massive double progression, massive double progression. Any of my programs are going to be fine. I just want you to alter them, so there's a reliance on dumbbells and machines and barbells, where you feel comfortable. If squats are rough, don't over squat. Demetrius says I'm not brand new. If deadlifts are not are rough, don't over deadlift. But if you are, pretty proficient at them, you can really use any program. If you're struggling to see gains, do your barbelly stuff, but also focus on dumbbells and machinies. So, where are we at? Okay, Michael Sadowski. Hey, Steve, I'm 55, and I'm just got back into the gym after 4 years. Excuse me. Due to medical issues. Hope you're doing well. I'm working on my cardio and lifting weights. Any advice? Rely on machines and dumbbells as much as you can. They're more forgiving. You can do bench. You can do overhead press. Don't over-rely on squats and deads and barbell posterior chain movements like RDLs. You don't need that stuff. You can do it on the side. You can do it if you feel comfortable with it, but don't feel pressure to just do those types of lifts. Probably train 3 days a week right now, maybe 4, using a body part split so you have longer recovery in between workouts. Unless you feel okay on an upper lower, then you could do upper lower every other day, 3 days a week, 4 days a week. And work on form. Join teammassiveiron.com. Let me help you with form. Right? Teammassiveiron.com is one of the best investments you can make. I have 300, 400 people that are members. Weekly, how many people post form videos? A couple. Do I want to help them? Yeah, I want to help them. If you want help, that's a good. But just if you need help, let me know, man. I do form checks for free. You can submit them on Instagram or whatever. But just stay in a circle of people that can help you. Don't try to train, like a freak. Be wise. Focus on what you can do and do it hard. I was doing flat bench followed by incline. I switched the order, and my incline was way better than the week before. Yeah, whatever you're going to do first, you're going to have more glycogen, energy. You're not going to be as fatigued. There's always a slight drop off. A slight. It's going to vary depending on the individual. What I recommend, what I used to do, is week 1 I would do barbell bench and then dumbbell incline. Week 2 I would do incline barbell and then dumbbell bench. So I would rotate them. I think there's value in that. Unless you have to bench every week because you have a mental tick, right? Is there a stance width and angles that helps combat knee cave? Well, one of the common issues is people go too wide, and then their knee, like to open their knees to match that foot width. We need it more calm, more realistic, more not but just natural feeling. So yeah, the biggest issue is people go too wide, because then you really have 2 strikes against you. You're trying to push the knees out, and then you're trying to push the knees out ultra wide. Big Harut. Harut's one of my best clients ever. One of the kings of the court. Hey, big hairy ugly dude, have you heard of the enhanced games being? I heard something about it this week. It just slid past my brain on social media, and I kind of slid past it and didn't have time to look. So anybody have any information about it? Is it basically, I'd like to know what events are there. I'm assuming it's just for, is it like all events? Is it just strength events? Is it like cycling, running, whatever? Take all the stuff you want. Let's get it on. Is that what it's about? Michael, are there similarities in how your bulldozer dumbbell row is done? Croc rows were high reps, and I'm trying to remember. I don't think they're off the ground. I don't think they're on the ground. I do them off the ground because I like the dead stop. I don't like the turnaround because the turnaround, I think, can invariably stress the bicep a little bit too much on high reps. And I like dead stop because I can really focus on feel and power. Lou or Arnold. I got to say a few things about Arnold because Arnold deserves his head on the, Mount Rushmore of lifting, obviously. Maybe Ronnie, maybe Dorian. I don't know. It's a good discussion. So many quality people. The more I look back, I don't know how Lou trained. I'm not studying Lou. Arnold worked hard, a lot of volume, a lot of hard work. He's a perfect example of hard work and volume, right? I also think Arnold, when I look at his training, was pretty sloppy and rushed. So Arnold had holes in his training, and you're going to be like, oh, Arnold was Arnold, and who are you? Oh, well, if we're just being neutral and fair, Arnold could kind of slops the weight around a little bit. He did push hard, and he did push deep, and he did train with a lot of volume. There's a lot of positives. My video recently about being optimal rather than proficient. Arnold was proficient, and that's, but in his training, he was not always somebody to mimic on certain exercises because sometimes it looked like, like his pre-workout was cocaine. I'm not saying he did that, but, like some of the exercises, like lat pull down, it's like, whoa, Arnold, slow down, get a little tension on there. Anyway, should we eat at maintenance for a while? No, there's no reason to do so. The only time you need to eat at maintenance is if you're like, hey, it's summer. I don't want to bulk. I don't want to cut. I want to cruise. Hey, it's December. I don't want to bulk. I want to cut. I want to cruise. There's no inherent value in going to maintenance. There's no benefit, right? It's not like the body acclimates. All that stuff's overblown. After you changed your life around and cut a lot of weight, how was, I only did one bulk. I got down to like 242 and I looked like doo-doo. I was like a deflated balloon. And over the next 2 years, I gained about 20 pounds. I got up to around 262, heading to my powerlifting meet. I think that's around where I competed at. I bulked up a little bit and I got most of my muscle mass back. And then I cut after that back down to 238 at the lowest. But I wasn't crazy. I was still pretty strict. What are some home gym hamstring exercises you can do? You can put the wall, you can put your butt against the wall and you can do a single leg wall RDL. Google that if you don't know. I have one client that uses his cable station and puts the bench in front of it and puts the ankle thingies on it connected to the cables and does lying hammy whammy curls. You can get a back extension station pretty cheap and probably can find one off Facebook Marketplace. And you can do glute hams on the back extension. You can do wide stance, heels elevated good mornings where you push the glutes back like an RDL and get that hamstring stretch. You can do RDLs. You can do Dimmel deadlifts, things like that. David, keep the pot at home. Earlier, for those tuning in late, we were talking about things that aggravate me. Here in Ohio, more and more, everywhere you go, you smell pot. Like I go to a soccer game, I smell pot in the audience. I go to like a flea market or whatever, antique mall, I smell pot in some of the vendors. Like, I do not care if you smell pot, but like, I do not care if you smoke pot. But all the public smoking, forcing people to smell that stuff. Anytime you invade my nose with something, cigarette smoke, pot smoke, whatever. Anytime you invade my ears with your music, like if I'm out in public, it's reasonable, But like if you're really being obnoxious or overbearing, I'm not a fan. Weed is legal here in Canada. It's legal in places here. Wherever I go now, the smell of skunk is in the air. Yeah, and I think that will probably be changing. I don't know. This isn't pot exclusive. Look, if you smoke cigarettes and I have to smell your stink ass cigarette smoke, I don't care if you smoke. Do what you want, but it's disgusting, right? The smell is just disgusting, and you smell like it on your clothes, and you smell like an ashtray. Just being real. You want me to tell you smell good? You don't, right? You don't. I don't want to smell it. You smell like ass. You smell nasty. So that it is what it is. You want me to tell you smell like a field of flowers? You don't, right? Anyway, enough of that. It's getting a bit much here in St. Louis. Recreational was legal. I don't mind it being legal, man. I mean, the war on drugs and all these people I went to prison over pot, like, what a waste of time and money, in my opinion. Morning, Big Steve. So I'm working 12-hour days. That's rough. Only have 20 minutes those days to work out. I would do some rest pause, maybe 2 exercises. So you could do, I have what's called escalating bulldozer and bulldozers, any form of rest pause work. Go in, warm up. That's barely enough to hit a compound. So if you're going to do a barbell lift, that's barely enough to warm up. You're probably better off doing dumbbells, like a dumbbell bench, maybe 1-2 quick warm-ups where you can grab and go. You don't have to get a bench station. Doing a couple sets of rest or doing a rest pause work. And then, running over, like you could do rest pause, dumbbell bench, 4, 5, 6 sets, and then running over and doing, you could drop down to do barrel press. You could do dips. You could do something else. Do what you can, find what works. Doing big compound movements probably isn't going to work because they're going to take a lot of warm-up sets and eat your time. I'm not stretching. Should I be incorporating this? No. I mean, there's no need to stretch. You want to be Stretch Armstrong, go for it. But stretching, if you find value in stretching, if you find value in being limber, if you find value in being yoga, I respect that. I do. But there's no reason to stretch for lifting. Maybe it helps with recovery, then do it. But I've never found an issue, like I need to stretch because my recovery is so subpar. Have you ever had problems with ankle flexibility? That's a common excuse when it comes to squats. I can't get Drew said in relation to back squats. People believe their ankle is inflexible and that's why they can't get the depth. Usually let's be real, from what I've seen, 90% of the time, it's because their knees are inside or they're squatting improperly. There are very few people with that degree of ankle inflexibility that can't hit depth. All right, let me get a drink. Raphael, is there ever a need to worry about glute strength? Well, what is our goal, really? What are your goals? If you do a quality mix of exercises, your glutes are going to get strong naturally. I am someone that squats hit my quads more than my glutes. So is it probably wise to do a more glute focused exercise if I want juicy gluteus? Yeah, probably. So it depends on goals. It depends on, how do your glutes respond to squats, that sort of thing. Everybody assumes squats are just going to build big glutes, big blocky glutes. I've squatted for 38 years and I pretty much kick ass. I assumed it would build my glutes as well, but it's more of my quads. The fact of the matter is I probably should have done more lunges and things, over the years. Some more. There's no harm in doing a leg exercise that's more glute focused or squeezing one in. I would. Mike, awesome rant to start the lot. Thank you. Alan, Steve, you have been very helpful in my training. Thank you, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback. Rico, regarding the question about going back in time and just sticking to 315, what would you tell yourself on bench, deadlift, and overhead? I trained like my bench really didn't, my bench never really exploded when I got into powerlifting. Well, I've never been the best bencher. I've tried all the chains and the things and the stuff. The only thing I'd really change is being more focused on bulking and cutting cycles. Deadlift, I never deadlifted. It just wasn't a lift on my radar. In the early bodybuilding years, I probably would have told myself from the start to alternate between hex bar one week and deadlift the next. Overhead press, I did everything right. I was doing them seated. I was doing them BTN. I probably would have done BTN 1 week and seated front press the next. John Paul. Sorry, my wife was asking me if I was still doing live. If you are done with bench or rows, do you still need to warm up with lower weight, or is it possible to immediately go with your expected weight? It depends on what the next exercise is. If I'm going to go to dumbbell bench after bench, I do 1 to 2 feeler sets because I don't want to just jump into 130s, 140s, 150s on dumbbell bench. I want to do 50s. I want to do 100s. I want to ease into things. Some of you only need 1 set, but I want to feel each exercise at least with 5 to 6 reps. Everything feeling good, chest feeling good, everything feeling normal, right? I like to do that. So final verdict, no. Soreness is not indicative of growth. Soreness can be indicative of hard training, but it's nothing you need to worry about. The fascia or connective tissue in every muscle group is different, right? Every muscle group is different. So you're going to have different degrees of soreness for different muscle groups. My shoulders never get sore, and trust me, I beat the living crap out of them. They get pumped. So soreness and a pump can be indicative of hard training, but all we need to worry about is hard training, is consistency, and progressive overload. Freddie, one of my clients, thanks for tuning in. Happy birthday. Or happy birthday. Happy Friday. What am I doing here? I'm hungry. I'm really hungry right now. I'm not even gonna lie. Why do you think people struggle to build muscle or keep weight? I'm talking to a very skinny guy who says they eat a lot. Look, I'm going to be real here from my time in coaching about skinny guys. They are some of the hardest guys as a group to coach because you give them one meal and they're like, oh, I'm bulking, I'm fat. And it's a generalization, but skinny guys are one of the hardest groups to coach because a lot of them have a fear of getting fat. And it's generally a very unreasonable fear. And people that say they eat too much or, whatever, they're usually inconsistent or full of crap, to be honest with you. And they only lose weight fast because they tend to undereat more frequently. Why do people struggle to build muscle? All the things I talk about: inconsistency, excuses, not consistent nutrition. One of the biggest issues, if you're training hard but you're not on a bulk, it's just going to shoot you in the foot. guys that need to lose some weight and just spend 1, 2, 3, 4 years slocking around, slobbing around, mucking around, not getting the weight off. Justin, we look like giant sea creatures. That was a good one. It's like, it's like giant blubber seals running around everywhere with ankles the size of heads. And I'm not putting these people down. I'm just making a physical assessment. Like, where is the world headed? We need some pushback. We do. This is not a quality of life. This is not a good quality of life. They cannot wipe their own butts easily. Not making fun of them. That's the reality, right? People scooter-redootering around everywhere. In the future, we're just going to have all fat people gliders, right? He said fat people. That's what they are. They're overweight. It's right. The government has standards. Get in the military. You can't be a land mammal. Like, look, I was a land mammal. I was a land whale. I was a land seal. I was a giant sea creature. And I say this stuff because I care. I'm not making fun of people. We're just surrounded by highly palatable foods and eating ourselves to death. It's not funny at all. I like land whales too. If you're 6'2", 250 and want to get to 10% body fat, how much weight should I lose? Well, I don't know how much muscle you have. I would have to learn. I would have to see your pictures and do some of an assessment. But to get to 10%, if you are maxed out muscle-wise, let's just start there. At 6'2", you're 4 inches above me, so that'd be about 18 to 20. You'd be about 196 to 200 would be your lean body mass potential. If that were the case, you'd be 20% body fat at 250 if you were maxed out. But anyway, to get to 10%, from 20 to get to 10, you need to lose 10 pounds for every 100. So you need to lose 25 pounds roughly, within a hair or two, 25 pounds to get down close to 10. We're ballparking because we're not doing perfect math, so don't hate on me. So at least 25. The only thing I'll be thinking about today when I squat, yes, it's open your knees. I'm not the first one to say this, what's the Ed Cohn, show me your taint. Jim Wendler, show me your dick. I'm being crude, but that's what they used to say. Open your knees. All right. Anthony. Can we do a no estrogen? I don't know. It might be offensive in this day and age. It might get me canceled. I'm not anti-estrogen, right? What I'm more talking about is, in the gym, we want, I think even women would agree, we want the testosterone. We want the energy. We want the strength. We want the boom, boom. We don't want, we don't want to be gossiping about Susie's, kids, and we don't want to be like, oh, I love you. We don't want to text like, oh, honey, you're a sweetie bear, and you're a sugar bear, and I love you and I miss you. Heart, heart, heart emoji, right? No, I want to rip some shit up, right? I don't want no heart emojis in the gym. I love you too, but right now I'm at church, and it's called the Church of Iron, and at the Church of Iron, there's no heart emojis. There's no lovey bears. There's no snuggle times. I'm not there for heart emojis and snuggle bears. I love you too, but I'm in the gym. Let's throw the key away. We're getting on to getting. All right, guys, we got last call. We got like 5-6 questions left. If you got any questions, get them in now. If not, we'll be dropping out at about 2 hours. In all seriousness, what would be 80% of my natural potential? 6'3", your natural max potential is going to be about 205. That's a lot of muscle mass. So if you're at 165, you're a little bit underweight. This is what I reference as being a little bit underweight. And that's not a criticism, right? That's not an insult. That doesn't mean you look like a stick bug. You're just a little bit underweight, so you can put on a little bit more mass because your natural muscle mass is a little bit undersized. 80% of 205, let's say 35, you'd be about 25, you'd be about 195 LBM. About 195 LBM, lean body mass, if you had no fat. So 220, you'd be probably about 12%. Lori Roche, hello. What's your dream hiking destination? I don't have one. Well, I was going to say I don't have one because I just like going out and exploring. But if I had one thing to do for the rest of my life, it would be to hike, explore Scotland, 100%. The time I was there was the time of my life. I love Scotland. I absolutely love the country. I love the scenery. It's just, I haven't seen the whole world, but if I could just spend my days, hiking and exploring the Corbetts of Scotland, I would be a happy man. Are Lengthened partials the goat? Yeah, they're the dead goat. When you switch programs, do you switch one or two? I don't really. When you switch programs, you're switching more how you approach lifts. You might move on to a bench cycle or a different bench approach, different rep range, different rep scheme. 3 is a DDP to 5, 10, 10, 20. Maybe some minor variation changes. I'm going to slide in Larson press every other week. There's many, many ways to do it. So there's no, it just depends. You can switch a few variables during a new phase. You can make wholesale changes to rep ranges and approaches, etc. Harut, for the enhanced games, there's quite a bit of info. I'll check it out. We have selected 5 core categories of sports. Athletics, I imagine like shot putty type of things, running type of things, aquatics, gymnastics, wow, strength and combat. Interesting. I wouldn't want megaroids punching me in the head, though. I'll tell you that much. Will muscle growth be any significant of difference if I eat 150 grams of protein? No, if you're in a bulk, you don't have to overdo the protein. Don't create a rule, but carbs and the calorie surplus is going to be protein sparing. So stay in that range, but I wouldn't make a rule. No, there's going to be no significant difference. Have you ever worked out with looped style resistance bands? No, I don't think they can build muscle. You would have to dedicate your life, 10 years of mastering these and progressions to get, to the point where you could build mass with them. Because basically body weight stuff or whatever you do, it's all about progressions. You have to find progressively more difficult ways to challenge the body. And that's some advanced level Jedi stuff. What's my calorie limit for 30-day challenge? I have no idea. I can't just pull a number out of my butt. I say that respectfully. I need to know your approximate maintenance level. I need to know, where you hold weight at. And I need to know if you're bulking or cutting. Troy, my squat form is it is. Troy is a perfect example of somebody that I pushed. Open your knees, open your knees, open your knees, open your knees. And the last 2 or 3 times Troy has squatted, his knees are open. So now that you're in a good position, we just need to ease forward in that lane. Is it reasonable to shoot for 3 plates and a 4 plate? I don't know. You have good form, and with the way you train, 315 is a big squat. And I'm hesitant not because of you, Troy, but because most people just don't get there. So it would be an outlier. Let's put it that way. But let's just see how things progress. What's one food that isn't plant or animal based? Well, everything is we're not talking like everything has plant or animal based options in them, like a store-bought burrito does, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about eating only whole foods. Open the knees help me too. My form is not much different. It is very much well, Drew said mushrooms are fungus based, but fungus is a plant. We don't have to get overly we call it a plant, so we don't have to get overly technical. It's frolicking in the woods with the plants. It's the buddies of the plants, so it's good enough. All right, guys, that's it. We're 2 hours in. No problem, Drew. Drew said LOL, sorry. We're 2 hours in. I appreciate you guys joining me. Please come back every Friday because we don't want to work on Friday. We want to talk lifting, and you never know when I'm going to unleash a stupid rant where I'll swear 242 times and say F words. All right, guys, have a great, massive weekend. Follow me on Instagram. Please join teammassiveiron.com. We'd love to have you, and we are out. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.